Alrighty, folks. I am so pumped. Are you guys ready for this? Because I sure am. I'm really excited about today. Hello! Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Adobe Live. Thank you to Colby and Annika for such a fabulous show. My name is Voodoo Val, and I am going to be here for the next hour or so doing some portrait illustrations, which I absolutely love to do. I really like getting into the spooky season with some creepy art and stuff, but today I am not the master of this realm. Today, you, in fact, are the master of this realm, and we are going to be doing a creative Mad Libs of sorts, okay? I have a little Mad Libs created for you folks, and I'm gonna have you guys answer the question that takes this portrait in a unique direction. So I'm gonna pop over here where you folks can see my artwork, and we're gonna dive into it, shall we? Let's go right over here. Yas. Okay, so I have a Mad Libs up here. I've got like a little basic sketch to get us started, but for the most part, this is gonna be where you guys really shine. I'm just gonna grab ourselves like a green color here, and we're gonna answer this little Mad Libs I've prepared. So this character is a witch or wizard. What are we doing? What are we doing, folks? I'm gonna need you to just get loud in the chat. I can hear you scream in the caps, Voodoo Val. This is, yes, it's kind of a signature of mine. So are we doing a witch or a wizard character? My vote, honestly, is kind of for a witch. And I guess, actually, we've got the link to my Instagram in the chat, so maybe I probably should have done more of a little intro. I'm going to show you folks while you deliberate on this a little bit more about my finished pieces and what my work looks like, so you can see kind of what we're going for here. This is a piece, some pieces that I have done in the past. I've done some work like this one. This one is for Lucasfilm. This is for the Rise of the Red Blade, Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade for Lucasfilm. I've done some like personal character design. Obviously, I really love portraits. Portraits are a thing of mine. Fan art for Star Wars is a thing of mine. So we're going for this kind of style here today, okay? And we'll probably end up doing about this much of a character. You know, I'm going to kind of keep it confined to the face because I want to get as much done as we can. So that's about where we're going with that. But this is kind of this is the base. This is where I usually start. So let us know. I see Warlock in the chat. I see Witch in the chat. I see another Witch in the chat. I see Pete Samerson. Yeah, Pete Samerson was here yesterday. Unfortunately, you missed him. Very hard man to pin down. I'm seeing Witch more than once, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with Witch, and all I'm gonna do here is just with my brush, I am going to do a little squiggle like so. So it is a witch, and then maybe we can even do this just to block out what we don't want. Maybe that'll be good, or maybe we'll just put a line through it. Also forgot our little stripe there. All right, this character is a witch with an affinity for moths, plants, or the elements. So it could be like frost or fire or whatever. Personally, I'm partial to moths and plants, but I wanted to give you guys a few options here for where to go. A witchard named Richard. Possibly. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know what a witchard is. I know what a witcher is, but maybe it's a new thing. Maybe it's the hit new thing the kids are watching these days. I'm a cool kid, and I think that sounds about right. Moths, a lot of people for moths. All right, you guys have my heart. You know what the deal is here. Okay, we're gonna go with moths. So a witch with an affinity for moths. Oops, let's make sure we have our green. Loving it. And we'll go ahead and cross those out. They are the hero or villain of this story. I don't think anybody's, you know, gonna be surprised at which one I would choose for this, but I do give you guys the option to make a hero character here, but you know what I want. You know which side of the force I'm playing for, you know. Paul Weaver, it's good to see you. Jack Watson says both. Jack, you are a treasure. Never change. The moths are the heroes. Are they? Are they the heroes? What kind of moths? Because, I mean, moths are cute. They're like sweet little velvet babies, you know? But I've seen some spooky looking moths that don't really look very hero-like, which are typically my favorite. I'm seeing villain 4 or 5 times. We are going for the dark side here, so let's go ahead and cross out our hero and let's highlight villain. They're the villain of this story, and they are going to succeed or fail. Now, this one's an interesting one because it is going to determine how roughed up this character looks. Because if they fail, we're going to add some crazy scars, scratches, scuffs, all that good stuff. But if they succeed, maybe they still have scars, but the scars are old. They're going to look like they're in much better shape than they would be if they lose the final battle. So where are we going here? Velvet babies? No. I make the heroes, you make the villains. This is true, Anthony. This is true. Mods equals moderators, yes indeed. Devil's Head Hawk Moth is a cool, spooky one. Devil's Head Hawk Moths scream, by the way. They scream. I don't know if you know that. And it's kind of terrifying, but I also think it's really, 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 really cool. They're gonna succeed. We got Lexi saying succeed. We got Frank saying fail. That's not enough. We need some tiebreakers. I'll let you guys decide. I'll let you deliberate on how soon you're gonna cross over to the dark side publicly. This is a public declaration of dark side energy, really, is what this is for all of us. Fail creatively. You know what, Megan? I like your style. I like your style. We could do like a chaotic type character. Maybe they lose some more than they win some, but they do it in style. 2 for fail, 2 for succeed. Fail comically. I'm gonna say, okay, fail creatively and fail comically all sound like wins to me. So we might go fail successfully. Okay, all right. We're gonna go with success, but this person's not gonna look like they're gonna look a little unhinged, okay? And then you can determine at the end if it looks like they failed or succeeded, okay? Because maybe success doesn't really look good on him. All right. So, witch character. This is a witch. This character is a witch with an affinity for moths. They are the villain of this story, and they are going to succeed. Tragically succeed, I love. All right. That seems pretty good to me. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and group our little Mad Libs. I'm gonna make it slightly smaller, okay? And I'm gonna put it right up here. And I'm also going to grab some gray. And I'm going to, maybe we'll actually grab some purple, because you know there's going to be purple in this. I am going to allow you folks the opportunity to choose some of the colors, but some things you just can't get around. And I think that one of those things, one of those inevitabilities in life is that Voodoo Val is going to add purple to a painting during a live stream. I don't think that anybody can escape that, and so I figure why lie to you about the fact that I might not use it? You know, why do that when we can just all be square with each other, be straightforward, and be frank about it? To be frank about it. Sorry, Frank. Purple and orange, I do like that. Unhinged, I'm listening. Wade is like, you know what? You have my attention. You know what? I'm liking the sound of this. All right, we're gonna change our background to a gray, kind of a gray color here, and we're gonna take a closer look, maybe a lighter gray than that. We're gonna take a closer look at our sketch. Now, something that I want to do during this stream is something that I don't usually do for an illustration stream, because we only have about an hour today, and if you guys have been present for a majority of my illustration streams where I'm doing like a semi-realism style versus like a stylized cute kind of thing on Adobe Live, I typically start out with a much more fleshed out kind of sketch. But I didn't want to do that this time because I realized that I never show the early stages of my process. I always just like make jokes and warn you guys that the beginning of my process is not really that good. Because my sketches really do, a lot of the time, start out looking pretty rough. But I wanted to show that. And we're not going to do very much of the character design. It's mostly going to be a face that says, you know, kind of all of these things. So I figure we could go over how I kind of lay out a face. Now I'm going to turn my sketch down on a lower opacity, and I'm going to give you guys some pointers and tips on how I start a face. And this is something that may not be true for everybody, but if you are somebody looking to illustrate portraits, there are some major face forms that you can memorize in effort to get the placement of a face correct. For starters, the first thing that I like to do, as you can see with my sketch here, is I did do like a pretty quick circle, you know, I did my little circle. And then I bring down, you know, the shape of that, like the jaw and head. So it's kind of like an egg shape, really. And I do this as this is kind of the starting shape for every head that I make, and then I put these little crescent shapes on here just to suggest that ears might go there. And then when I come in to start putting in the facial features of the face, there's some points that I think are very necessary to hit. And the way that I get those in there very easily is, first I start with the line for the brow. So this line here, I just put in like this arched line. And it might not be arched for every character. Maybe it's going to be more of a swoopy brow, you know, it really depends. But I like to put in this arch to give myself an idea of where that brow bone is going to be on the character. And typically it's actually closer to the center of the head in its entirety rather than up here. A lot of people will start their brow bone up here and then realize they've got, you know, not very much space for a forehead, but really it's like closer to the center. I do it like a little bit above center sometimes, but yeah, that's about where it's at. And then I like to bring down this little triangle shape here. And that, to me, signifies this little bridge, like where the brow dips into the nose there. And once I have that, I can really start to figure out where everything else goes relative to that. So I will put a quick line here to symbolize, you know, like where the bottom of the eye is. And then to sort that nose, there's a lot of ways you can approach this, but what I like to do is form what looks like kind of a cartoony diamond shape. And I'm going to grab a red brush here and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if you know, do your little swipe, let's actually use blue since we're talking about diamonds. If you do your little swipe, right? Your little swipe right here. And then you put in your triangle and you put in your little, you know, below the eye line there. Then what you end up with is a line that you can connect here, you know, from the top of the brow to the bottom of that eye. And then you can kind of go like this, which if you think about it, it looks very like, you know, a diamond shape. Kind of looks like a little diamond right there in the center of the face. And those 2 points will come down to connect into where you really should put the bottom of your nose. Now, noses are different from person to person, character to character, but I think it's typically a pretty darn good starting point. So you can see where I made these sketchy lines to come down into the bottom of my nose. And once I have like that kind of laid out, then I can kind of start shaping in these nostrils. I typically like to do this kind of hump shape here just to give my brain the idea that like that nose bridge and everything kind of continues up into the face like so. And if I know where my nose is and I put like a little curved line here to symbolize maybe the shadow under the nose, then I know that this is the Cupid's bow, you know, of the face, a little dip right there. Not everybody has it, but a lot of people do. And if that's the Cupid's bow, then the lips are probably, you know, kind of part here. There's probably corners of the mouth here, and you can start to put in a mouth. Now, it doesn't look perfect. Not everything is going to look perfect that first try, but that's a way that you can throw in the mouth. Another way that you can do it is along these lines that we've added in, you know, that's kind of like the high point of the cheekbone. So if I wanted to, I could come in and put these lines in here to kind of shape this side of the face. I might, in fact, actually kind of bring this chin down and make the face a little bit longer, because I think we need a little bit more space. Or I could shorten the nose, depending on what I really want out of this. And if the cheekbones and the hollows of the cheeks are going to be right there, then you would probably have the corners of the mouth pretty close there. You know, especially if you're going to have a very defined chin and this swoops out here, this kind of curls up into that space. Really, I think if you think of the corner of the mouth and the muscles of the mouth as like a donut, you know, if you have like these circles here, the corners of the mouth are going to kind of dip right into the center of those little donuts. But getting that in makes it really easy, because the bottom of our bottom lip would be right about there, our top lip, and so on. So that's kind of how I lay out a face. And you can see it needs work, but everything's in its proper space. You know, it needs a little tweaking. I like to come in and put these lines right here just to symbolize like the bags under the eyes, that little crease right there by the nose. Sometimes I put a little curve in like this to symbolize the side of that nose there. I might widen this brow here just a little bit, and maybe bring the corner of this eye up. But that's typically how I would start to kind of build out a face. And these are things that I have been employing for a long time, so typically I remember them so easily that it kind of comes as like second nature as far as laying it out. And after I have those set in, I can come in and start to give this face a lot more depth than before. I might change up things, deviate a little bit from that diamond shape and the path that I was going there, but it gives me a really, really great starting point. So if you ever go to approach the illustration of a face and you find that you're a bit lost on that egg-shaped head, you know, that you've sketched in for yourself, try laying it out that way. Mouth donuts. I'm still listening. Yes. Pursuit of Bliss, welcome in. It's good to see you in the chats. I'm going to look through the chat again just to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm loving the mouth and donuts emojis in the chat. This makes me happy. I approve of this. So I have my little face. But now we need to start making this face make sense here. And one of the things that I am going to do before we move forward is I am going to flip my canvas. Now I have my canvas flip. Wow, it opened up Camera Raw. Hold on, we're gonna reset this. Let me come over here to File. I think it's gonna be in Edit. Yeah. This is actually maybe not so bad, because we can come in, I can show you guys how I route keyboard shortcuts. So just going Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, I'm gonna come over here to this little Keyboard Shortcuts and Menus, and I'm gonna open Image and scroll down, and I'm gonna go down here into Image Rotation, and on Flip Canvas Horizontal, I'm just gonna click that, and I'm gonna say Control Shift A. Because Control Shift A, it is Camera Raw, I believe, but I prefer that because it's right next to Control Shift S. If I accidentally get it wrong, all I'm doing is saving my file, and it's right there where I can do it pretty quickly because my hand rests naturally right there on the keyboard. And I'm gonna say Accept. Okay, and so now if I do that little shortcut, you can see it just flips it. And flipping your canvas is going to be one of the best things really that you can do to ensure that your piece continues to look very cohesive. Now I can tell right off the bat, let me get a better eraser here. I can tell right off the bat that I want to kind of turn that nose, and I want to bring the nostrils up just a little bit. So I'm going to bring this around, and I'm going to make this little curved portion here so that I know that I want to like kind of tilt my nose. In fact, I could select this whole thing, sans the top of that nose there. I'm going to grab the mouth and the chin muscles as well. And I think I'm just going to transform and bring that right up. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And then I think that honestly our cheekbones are not so bad. But I am going to come in and kind of carve this away, carve that away. It's looking very, very male at the moment. I suppose there could be a male witch, but I do want to make this a little bit more feminine. So we are going to transform this stronger face into something that is a little bit softer and a little more witchy, shall we? How do you start Camera Raw now? I don't use Camera Raw often, so it's not a bother for me to not have it. Really, it might be a bother to you. You know, maybe you need to have it. At which point I just say do exactly what I did, but change it to a different hotkey. Something you don't use or something that's not routed is what I suggest. Okay, face foundations. Yes, indeed. How are we doing on time? We are doing just fine. Okay, so I am going to, let's go ahead and smooth this out. I am going to soften the brow. We're going to soften that brow. We're going to bring this cheekbone out like so. We are still going to have these nice hollowed cheekbones, which I think are pretty nifty, but I'm going to bring that cheek in, not as strong. Bring that chin down, but it's not going to be as broad. We're going to have a slope kind of up into the face, like so. We'll still have that little dip in there in the hollow. We'll have it kind of slope inward, like so. I am going to throw in the nostrils here, but the nostril is going to be pretty darn soft. Okay, we'll put our little shadow for our nose, and I'm going to give this more of a plump lip. Do some little directional lines here to kind of plump in that lip as well, give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to bring the Cupid's bow in, so it's a much thinner Cupid's bow, like so. We can even kind of flare that mouth out at the edges, like that. There we go, there we go. I'll put a little circle under here to symbolize that there's going to be like kind of a dip, but I don't want it to be too terribly dramatic. And then I think that it's really going to come into play, like the softness, the soft feminine nature of the character is going to come in at the eyes and the brow. So she's going to be fleeky because she is a witch and she's the villain of this story. So I'm going to put in some just standard brows. I think it would be really cool to do something interesting with the brow, like kind of night elf brows, since she is going to be like sort of a moth type character. That could be interesting, something like so. Or we could do something where her brows are just like small, tiny brows, you know, something like this, something that's like, you know, kind of moth antenna-esque without being like, something delicate, you know. We want it to be a little more delicate. And then I'm going to come in like so. So we're going to throw in some sketchy lines for that eyebrow, or that eyelid there. We're going to bring the corners of the eye up and get this nice swoop going here. I think heavy lids would lend itself very well to a character like this. So I'm going to push those lids up a little bit, and we'll do the same thing with this. Let's get that nice swoop going up into the corner of the eye. Get these eyebrows going, or these eyelids going, like so. And we'll kind of swoop them up. All right. Now I could turn this into a very frightening woman. Could definitely turn this into a very frightening woman. Absolutely. We get a little brow going, a little angry brow. Okay. Now we are going to soften this even further. I'm using a pretty harsh brush. I'm using like it's called the Blocko brush. I honestly couldn't tell you where I got it. I don't remember, but I am definitely going to be switching into more of a charcoal brush now, which is actually, Wade, I think that you, me, and Sam Peterson use a lot of the same brushes, because I'm about to switch to a nice chalky charcoal brush that I think I spied you using yesterday, and it's one of my favorites of all time. So I've got my sketch, I've got all this stuff going, and I'm making a new layer underneath here. I'm even going to turn this one on a lower opacity, and I'm going to start throwing in some values that make this even more like kind of a slender feminine face. I feel like we've got our points, a lot of our points in here, because our character, oops, we're flipped. Our character is going to be a witch. We're going to make her magical. She's going to have an affinity for moths, which we've kind of suggested in the brows with a lot of that. Definitely looking like a villain more than a hero. And maybe we can do something with the facial expression to give them kind of a maniacal smirk of sorts, as if they have succeeded in their mission, or failed comically, which maybe they're amused by. All right, so let's grab a darker value of gray. Now, the first thing I'm going to do when I come in here is I'm going to start throwing in values in all of the places that the lighting is not really going to be hitting. I'm going to throw some value underneath that eye. Think of, honestly, touch your own face, okay? Really, think about where the lighting is coming from. I'm going to do like a simple kind of top-down lighting, maybe slightly from the side lighting, but not quite. Touch your own face and see where the hollows of your face are, you know, and think about like where the light would be hitting and where those caverns in the face are that would be hidden away from those light spots, and put the shadow in those spaces. So the underneath of the nose, the top lip, because the upper lip is actually hidden more from the light, and then you get like a spot of light towards the bottom lip, especially if you're doing pretty full lips. You probably have a little spot of shadow underneath that little dip where, you know, your lip curves in just before your chin, and then maybe even on the edge of the chin there. We could have some more subtle shadow here if you're doing hollow cheekbones, like I typically favor doing. Underneath the chin, around the side, we'll throw some dark value on those ears. Those are pretty big ears, honestly. But we can tweak things. And then around the head, like so. I think we do similar. Yeah. Villains usually think they're heroes, so I'm told. Yeah, I think villains are typically the heroes of their own story. I think you're right about that. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of sampling some colors and really starting to blend that out and bring that in. This is like a sculpting stage, really. Personally, I have used ZBrush in the past. Are there any ZBrush or other 3D artists in the chat? This is it kind of reminds me of like the ZBrush sculpting process, something that I always loved and always favored. And while I don't get to do it often, I find that anytime I am building form with various shades of grayscale and value, I always feel like I'm working with clay, you know, like physical clay. I've also done traditional sculpture with soldate clay in the past, which is, you know, something else I haven't done in years, but am slowly getting back into. And so I feel like if I use a textured brush and I use, you know, grayscale values, I can really start to feel what it is I'm trying to convey, trying to see it in a 3D space rather than trying to color in line work. Same, yeah. Unibrow for the win. Yeah, we could if we wanted to. We could. All right, so I feel like those are pretty darn good values for this. I'm also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly, let's snag a rectangular marquee here, and I am just going to, with a little box, I'm going to make a new layer and grab a darker value, and I'm just going to make us an interesting little box here, because I kind of like, honestly, I like the look of it, like just having like this sketchy box kind of cutting our character out here from the background. I think it adds a little kind of style to it, and it also makes me feel like there's more going on my canvas, which is also, learn little tricks or see what makes you feel like you're not approaching a blank scary space. You know what I mean? Like that, I feel like put her in a place, and this place apparently is dark and dreary and spooky, which maybe goes with the implied canon for this character, but you see what I mean? Like she's in a place now. She's not like a random floating head that is just off in space, and I think it looks pretty darn cool. So I just, you know, kind of put my brain in another place there. I am going to now just go right on top of this. Let's Control D to deselect. And I am going to now, I typically paint my sketches in. I would love to know, those of you who are illustrators in the chat, do you remove your sketch? Like, do you turn your sketch layers off when you illustrate? Or you know, start like adding details to your piece? I very seldom turn my sketch layer completely off. I actually really, really love to like turn them on a lower opacity and blend it in with my paintings, because I feel like it adds a lot more texture to it. I was just looking at your layers. You don't seem to name them. Do you think there's any benefit to doing so? Absolutely. I think there is tons of benefit to naming your layers, and I name layers when I'm going to be sharing files with people. I name layers as I get into very, very large projects, very large files, because otherwise I will be very, very sad later on. But as I'm working, especially as I'm kind of laying out the framework of an illustration, I typically make layers as I go along, and I try not to worry about whether they are named right off the bat or not. And that is just because personally, as I make my way through a project, especially at the beginning, I find it tedious to stop and name the layers. I just like to do the hotkey for it and just kind of truck on through and do what I'm, you know, complete my mission. You know, I'm trying to get my idea down on the canvas, and if I worry too much about the small details like that, then I feel like I run out of steam. So I like to just go through, but it really depends on the project. Like I said, sometimes I'm like, man, I really got to get this idea out, and I just go through. And a lot of times I will stop, like I'll pause when I'm like, okay, I've come to a stopping point. My idea is down on the canvas. I'll come to a stopping point, and then I'll go back and name layers. Typically I'll go back and like group layers together. So I probably wouldn't name all of these layers here that I'm working on, but I probably would group all of the grayscale sketch layers together and call it like grayscale base. You know, so I know everything that's pertaining to the grayscale base illustration of the piece is going to be in this group, and that's good enough for me. And I probably, as I get through my piece, will start employing the use of smart objects, because smart objects allow me to make one layer of a group that I can then edit later. And if I want to come back and kind of parse through all the different pieces, I can, but it clears up my layer space for me. So all right, this is starting to be like a whole face. It is a whole face. I feel like it's still a sketchy, sculpty stage. Yeah. And I can't believe it's only been 30 minutes. This is amazing. That means we're gonna get into a lot of really great stuff. I don't want to make her look like she's smiling. I just realized I'm giving her like kind of a smile. So I'm gonna turn this little fold in her skin downwards and give her like, she has a plump mouth, but it's not a happy one. I also think it might be cool to do like a slight parting of the lips. Almost, honestly, she's kind of looking like maybe startled, astonished. My initial sketch didn't really pay too much attention to what her facial expression would look like, but we can start to like shape that and form it as we go along. Kind of pull those lips around. And so I feel like we should return to our Mad Libs though for a little while and really start to think about like how we are conveying certain elements of what our character is supposed to have. So let's take a look. This character is a witch. We're gonna have to give her some magic. We don't really have elements of magic here. Just looks like a very strange person. And I was thinking a way that we could convey magic is to not give her any pupils. You know? Does she need them? I don't think she needs them. If she is gonna be somebody who has an affinity for moths, like a moth witch of sorts, then maybe she has like dusky, silvery, kind of lavender-ish eyes. almost like blind eyes, you know, and maybe they have like kind of an ethereal glow that suggests to the viewer that she is not human, even though she may appear human shaped, you know, that sort of subtle thing, which could be very interesting. I also want to flip my canvas because it's starting to look a little wonky right in here, so we're gonna change that up. Flipping one's canvas is one of the best habits you can employ when painting digitally. I really think that. I have saved many a painting just by flipping it often and being able to look at the form and shape of the faces especially that I'm illustrating from a new perspective in middle of the project rather than much later after I've taken a long break and come back to see it. And it's really helpful. It's kind of does for you the same thing that taking a long break from a piece does to you. Because when you take a break from a long piece and you come back to it after a while, you don't look at it the same, and it makes it easy to pick out little moments within the piece where things aren't looking quite right. If you don't have time, especially, to like give your piece a rest for several hours or to sleep on it, you know, flipping your canvas can kind of give you that ability in a matter of moments. Hurry up and wait. Welcome in Ted's Little Dream in the chat. Welcome in, Ted. It's good to see you. I am doing a tutorial of sorts that is disguised as a creative Mad Libs. The community has cast their votes with some influence from me. I did make an effort to say what would be my favorite, but I did leave it up to the chat what kind of character we would be developing, and this is what we ended up with today. I let everybody vote, so it says this character is a witch with an affinity for moths. They are the villain of this story, and they are going to succeed. That is our vibe for the day. So we are creating this kind of ethereal creature witch. You know, I feel like she should have moth attributes for sure, if she's going to be kind of a moth witch. And we're trying to kind of make her look a little creepy, a little sinister. I feel like she should be angrier for sure. Like maybe yeah, there we go. I do favor doing these weird little brows. I do like this. I do like this look. I've never had the courage to give them to myself, although I have seen people pull them off. I just worry, I worry that I'll give myself the perfect brows like this, like the weird little creepy brows, and then I'll find out that, like, when I make regular facial expressions, my whole face is strange. I don't know. I don't know if I would rock them. I don't know if my face is the kind of face that needs them. So I will live vicariously through the strange moth women I illustrate rather than give myself the tiny brows. I'm gonna kind of do like a very subtle pupil now, or iris. Now, something that we could do here, because we talked about giving her like these ethereal eyes, is we could do just like a really bright pupil itself. I think that's super cool. To instead of having a black pupil, having like a white pupil ends up looking really magical and very interesting. And I think as a moth character, something that could lend itself to that vibe is having like really, really long lashes. White lashes, I think, would even be best for this. You guys let me know, but I think that that would work wonders. Get a little more of this dark value right in there. I'm gonna kind of carve out this nose just a little more. There we go. There we go. Starting to become a whole person, you know? Starting to be like a whole person in here. I do want to define that nostril a little more. Looks like a cut of like hard value. There. Oh yeah. A little dark value there, a little light value here. So it's like that Cupid's bow is definitely like highlighted. You can see it very well for sure. But we can also kind of suggest that the direction and the shape of that dip. I'm gonna make these lips a little juicier, you know. Villain's gonna have juicy lips too, you know. That still looks like a smile. Stop making people smile, Val. You have a dark side reputation to uphold. You can't be drawing smiling people all the time. Especially when you promised they would be evil. Well, I guess a smile would be fine as long as she has angry brows. I guess that doesn't look very pleasant. It doesn't, honestly. It does actually look like not pleasant. So we'll kind of do that. Let me also look at the time. Oh, we still have like 15 minutes. Okay. Let's take this time now to add more in the way of magic and detail, shall we? I feel like we need more. Okay. We have a pretty good starting point. I'm gonna snag some light value and kind of kiss the tip of the nose there, like so. A little more right there. A little more on the lip. Tiny bit on the chin, right there. A little in the corner of the eye. A little bit right there. And then let's maybe put some hair. Let's maybe put some hair. And let's see what direction we're gonna go in with this. I'm actually not unpleased with this. I think that's a pretty darn good face, especially for the short amount of time. We've been drawing for about 30 minutes because I have been talking a lot. But that's a pretty darn good face, if you ask me. I don't know why I look at it from far back and to the side when I take a peek at my work, but I think we've done pretty well as a base. Okay, let's go ahead. Let me find where this is, and we're gonna just remove that. We'll just cut that right out. Let's go ahead and flip my canvas. Let's go ahead and make a new layer. Grab some black here and kind of fix that eye. It's looking a little droopy there, isn't it? This one as well. Looking a little odd. The beauty of flipping your canvas means that I found this out now and not after I put it on Instagram. Yeah! Hooray for catching mistakes early. Okay. Good enough for me for now. Now, ethereal strange eyes. Let's kind of blur this. Am I painting on the right layer? I wanna like blur the eye a little bit so that the iris is very close to the same color as the whites of the eye, and then put like the boldest value in there is going to be the pupil itself that seems to like glow internally a little bit. So we can do like this sort of thing, like so, because that looks a little more like maybe she's blind, or maybe that's just what a creature like her has for eyes. There's no telling, really. Something like that. Well, something like that. You know. Let's get this dark value, like right there. Boom. And then let's come in with some, like, sharp white. Not unpleased. I feel like that does give kind of a what's going on here vibe. Something else we can do is we can put like a little, you know, another little spot of something right there, maybe right there. I feel like that does give like kind of a element to it, especially in softer values when we know we're going for a moth type beat, you know, not to be confused with a frog type beat. I like this. I also like, what I really like is doing like dark circles under the eye like this and taking a lighter value and like brushing it right here just to kind of suggest that like the underneath of the eye is like oily. Don't you just love like a good smoky oily eye? I do. I favor it. I think it looks cool. I don't know that I would think it looks cool if I saw this person in person, but I do think it looks cool for a character. And then just do like some swipes through it, like there's folds, you know, just makes it look a little more intense for some reason. I don't know. You'll have to let me know if you think so, but I think it does. I think it looks like super intense. And then we can come in with some white. Let's do this on its own layer. Maybe not quite white, but we can do like a, because this is like a moth character. Maybe white lashes on the bottom. And some shadow might be in order. I'm gonna keep this pretty loose. Normally what I would do is I would clean up the skin and stuff underneath this a lot more before I kind of dive into such details. But we really, you know, we're kind of limited on time. So doing something like this is fine. And then I would, underneath it, I would maybe grab some of this black and do like some of this, you know? Like there's a shadow being cast by a lot of this. You know, like these wispies. And it could be really cool too to take, like if I took like a sharp round brush, something like this, like the hard pressure opacity, make them even longer, I don't know. Like more dramatic. Could be interesting. Something like that. It might also behoove us to, you know, take a brush and do like a little more gray around the edges here, just to like really hit that home, make them a little more solid. And then we can come in with black and do some more dramatic black around the eyes. It could be interesting. I kind of like that. I kind of think that's nifty. Maybe a little much with the longer, but I do think it's kind of cool. How much time do we have? Becca! What's up, Becca? It's good to see you. Why not both? That's a great idea. Why not all of it? I feel like we also need to give her some hair. And I think that a moth lady would have silver hair. And I also think that a moth lady's hair would be very sleek. So, almost like Aurora. Does anybody listen to Aurora? I'm just gonna like chunk in some bangs here, because we have about, what is that, like maybe 8 minutes? Yeah, maybe 8 minutes left. We're gonna chunk in some bangs, grab like maybe a darker value and kind of put in like this shaded underside of bangs, like so. I think that looks pretty cool. Grab like a lighter value, and I'm literally just like tapping kind of like really softly. I'm gonna kind of go around in like a crown, like a halo here, to suggest a lighter value in some semblance of like shine here, to really like hit home that there's hair follicles there. I feel like that suggests some good hair. And then maybe not subtract from it, but, you know, use that darker value to kind of smooth out the edges. That looks like bangs, right? That looks like bangs. It's pretty close to bangs. And then we're gonna do like more hair around the edges. So let's do, I feel like it should come like so. Something like this. Maybe not out so much on the side here. And then we could do those little long wisps that Aurora has, because I just have been thinking about her while we're illustrating this. I think that this lady's face is not as dainty and like pixie-like as Aurora. She's still got like a very, we could maybe soften her face a little bit. We could do that. There we go. But I think it would look really cool. We'd do this and then have like darker hair value here. Because Aurora has like those little, like the octopus haircut, you know? She has like that vibe. Like the hair that goes underneath, which I think is actually kind of cool. Another style I wish that I could pull off, but I don't think we'll ever make it. But yeah, start kind of adding a little bit more. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we are coming to the very end here. Yeah, we got about 4 minutes. I wish that I had made her look a little more sinister, a little scarier. But then maybe a moth villain isn't as sinister as you might see from other villains. Of course, too, we're working with a limited amount of time today. And to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty proud of how much work we got done. What do you guys think so far? I hope that throughout this kind of like formal yet informal tutorial, that you guys learned some cool tips and tricks and things on like how I really love to lay out a face. And if you find yourself, in the midst of your own character illustration, I hope that at that time you guys feel a little less lost, maybe, as you start to build the forms of a face for yourself. These are some of the tips that I have been employing for a really long time. They've always helped me, especially when I am in a bind or kind of stressed out about the work I'm doing and feel a little lost in my process. I always return to major points just like this and kind of find my way through. So I hope they help you. You see a little Lady Gaga in here now? You know what? You're right. And the jaw is pretty, well, maybe it's not a harsh jaw, because women do have like longer faces like this often. But I think that I want it to be more like obviously, you know what we could do? This is kind of a great way to explore like experimenting with face shape, is if I pull this face in at the chin, but then widen it here at the jaw and make that jaw a little bit softer. And then let's pull the edges of the lips in just slightly. And do a little of that. Yeah. Bring that Cupid's bow in just a tiny bit. Oh yeah, it's getting there. We can work with that. All right, guys, that is about all the time that I have left for you. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. I think that this looks like she could be like an insane moth woman. I would like to maybe experiment a little bit more with like how maniacal we can truly make her. So I guess keep an eye on my Instagram, because I'll do maybe some iterations and stuff to kind of continue to make her look a little crazier. And if you want, you can join actually my broadcast channel over on Instagram, because I'll post, kind of updates as I go along, and chip away at it if you guys are into broadcast channels over on Instagram. But that is all the time I have for you folks today. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's not every day that I get to jump in just for some straight, total, like, undiluted illustration. So I've really enjoyed this, and I will actually see you guys tomorrow. I'll be doing an express show tomorrow, animating illustrations and things. So I hope to see you then. Stay tuned, because the Adobe Live Day is not over, and I will see you next time. Adios, folks.